In this session, we're going to look at 72, 73, 74, and 75. 4 different lessons here. First we're going to start with is 72. We're going to look at this concept called the law of sines. And in the law of sines, what we're going to be doing is using this law to solve for missing parts in a triangle. And if you'll notice, we have more missing parts that we're used to. We also don't have a right triangle here, so no Pythag or things like that. So we're going to use this thing called law of sines, which law of sines says that side A over the sine of angle A is equal to side B over the sine of angle B and side C over the sine of angle C. The bottom line is all of these angles have sides that correspond or are opposite them. And so the B angle is opposite the X side. The A angle is opposite the 10 side. So all of those are pairs. That's what I mean. We got 3 pairs in each one. So you've got 7 over sine 23. That's a pair because they're opposite of each other. Then you have 10 over sine A. That's a pair because they're opposite of each other. And then you have X over sine B. And that's opposite of each other. Now obviously that's not going to be a good one because it has 2 variables. What we'll do is we'll choose these first 2 and cross multiply. So you get 7 sine A equals 10 sine 23. We'll divide both sides by 7. So what you can do is you can get this into your calculator. You can do the math on that, and we'll do that. Whenever we do the math on that, we discover that it is 0.558, and that'll be sufficient. But in order to get rid of this sign, we have to do, since we're finding an angle, second function sine of 0.558 equals 33.92 degrees. So angle A is 33.92 degrees. Now, the way to find angle B is simply to add 23 and then subtract both from 180. So we get angle B is 123.08. You know, just they all add to 180, so that one's easy. So now we can come back once we know angle B, and we'll use 7 over sine 23 equals X over the sine of 123.08. So we use the law of sines in order to solve for this last one. So we cross multiply, you get 7 sine 123.08 equals X sine 23. Divide both sides by sine 23, and we isolate the X. So we get X equals, we put every bit of that in our calculator. So you get 7 sine 123.08 equals, and then we'll divide that answer by the sine of 23, and we get X equals 15.01, and that is a side. So we get all of our answers. We found B was that, A was that, X was that, A, B, X. We found all of our missing parts. We are done. And you can use that for every one of them. Very similar to our last one, we have another obtuse triangle here. The difference is in solving for this one, we have to recognize when we're solving for the obtuse angle, the last time we added or subtracted from 180. Okay, so this one, we've got all of our pairs that we picked from this obtuse triangle. Pretty much kind of the same numbers here, mixed around a little bit. But we have, we'll take this one right here, 7 over sine 23 equals 10 over sine A. We get 7 sine A equals 10 sine 23. Divide both sides by 7. We get sine A equals, once again, put this in our calculator, 10 sine 23 equals, then divide that answer by 7. We get 0.558. And when you go second function sine of 0.558, you get 33, A equals 33.918. Now, if you'll notice, it is obvious that that is not the correct answer, because 33 is an acute angle, and this clearly is an obtuse angle. And so, but your calculator doesn't know it. So basically, A is a second quadrant angle, and your calculator gave you a first quadrant angle. Well, we know how to find, so basically it looks like this. So basically you found this in the second quadrant, but we know that we need the rest of this. And you know how to find that. You take 180 and you subtract it from the answer. And so you're going to get A is 146.08 degrees, which this is actually the correct answer for A. And that's the way that you go about that. Now we can add 23 degrees to that and then subtract from 180, and we get that B is 10.92 degrees. So we've got the A and the B, and then our last step is we will use sine, the law of sines, to find our x down there. The way we'll solve for our x is we're going to take sine 7 over sine 23 equals x over sine 146.08. Cross multiply. When you do that, you get 7 sine 146.08 equals x sine 23. Divide both sides by sine 23. Then we'll put this in our calculator, and then we will have our answer. Sine of 146.08 is 3.906. Divide that by the sine of 23, and that gives us x is 9.997. And there is our answer for x. That actually was incorrect because we used the wrong angle. We used 146.08. That was wrong. That was opposite 10. We needed what was opposite of x. Opposite of x was that. You got to make sure that we use the right thing. So you put in 10.93. So we go back 7 sine 10.93 equals, divided by sine 23, and that gives us 3.397 equals x. 3.397, and that is the correct answer. So it's important that you see what is opposite what and make sure that you put the right numbers in there. You may know how to do it, you got to use the right numbers. In lesson 73, you're going to look at some things that probably you did in geometry. They're going to give you, the only information that they give you, it's a word problem, is they're going to tell you there's an 8-sided figure whose perimeter is 48. They don't even say what the units are, so you just use the word units. They don't say centimeters or feet or whatever. So if it's 8-sided, you can actually draw a dot in the middle. You can actually draw 8 different triangles here inside this thing. If you put it at every time that it goes. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And what we're going to do is we'll just take one of the triangles, and if the perimeter is 48, that means that the outside is 6 at each deal, adds to 48. And the only other piece of information you're going to need are these angles. These angles, you take 360 divided by the number of sides, you'll find that each angle is 45 degrees. Now, what you need is, in order to solve for this, you're going to make the triangles basically, if it's 45, that means it's 22.5 on that little part, and that's 3, and that's 3. So what we'll do is we will use, we've got to find the height here. So we use tan of 22.5 is going to give us, it's from this angle, it'll be opposite over adjacent, so 3 over h, because we need the height in order to do base times height, and we can then find everything that we need. Multiply both sides times h, and then we're going to get h equals 3 divided by 10, 22.5. We'll put that in our calculator in order to find the height. So 3 divided by 10, 22.5, it equals, it's going to give us our height. It makes sense. It's 7.24 because the base is 6. So base times height over 2 is going to be 7.24 times 6 divided by 2. So 3 times that number, so you get 21.73, and that's going to be units, but that's just the area of one of the triangles. So when you multiply that times 8, and that'll give us 173.82 units squared in order to find the area of this figure. Not too tough. You actually know all this information, just putting it together. Lessons 74 and 75, pretty easy lessons. Now, when you look at this is just a normal system of equations. You can put this in your calculator. In fact, if you were doing this on the ACT, that's what you would need to do. Now, what they're saying is to use Cramer's rule in order to solve for this. Now, Cramer's rule is just using the matrix, your understanding of a matrix to do that. I'll show you how to do it. Something you may want to know how to do to build to something later. So I'll just familiarize you with it, but you probably won't actually do this on a test or anything. You'll just use systems of equations because it's what you're familiar with. But in order to solve for this, like if we're solving for x, you would make something like this, and on the bottom we're going to put 3, 4, 2, negative 2. So we're just making a matrix on this, taking these numbers, 3, 4, 2, negative 3. Now on the top, you'll put 2, negative 3 in place of y, but since we're solving for x, we're going to put the answers, these, in place of x. We'll do the same thing when solving for y. So when solving for y, the bottom's the same, 3, 4, 2, negative 3. Now, you won't do the work over here since you're already doing the work over here. But on the top, y equals, if we're solving for y, we'll go 3, 4, and in place of y, we'll put negative 1 and 10, and that is how you solve for this. So we're going to do a cross multiply and subtract. So negative 1 times negative 3 is 3, minus, because that's what you do, it'll be minus 20. Then right here you have negative 9, and then minus 8. Negative 9 minus 8. And so on the bottom, or on the top, you have negative 17, and on the bottom you have negative 17. Therefore, your answer here for x is going to equal 1. Now for y, on the bottom we're going to get negative 17. So we know that because of our answer here. But on the top we're going to get 30 plus 4 because of the change of sign there on the subtraction. So you get 34 over negative 17, which we know that y will then equal negative 2. So our ordered pair is 1, comma, negative 2. Now that was a little bit of work. You could have done that with system of equations. I encourage you to do that. But at least to familiarize you with this, you can know how that works. This last part is pretty easy. And what this is combinations. Okay, and the formula is nCr, and it's actually similar to permutations, which was nPr. A little different, but this is a formula, and where you're going to find that formula is going to be, you're going to go to math. You're going to go all the way over to the PRB, and you see number 3. You see nCr. And the way that is defined is the n is the total number of things, and the r is the number allowed. It's r at a time. So they give us a problem like, they say there's 12 students, but you can only take 5 at a time. what are the number of combinations with those numbers? Okay, well 12 is the total, so the n. So you put 12 in for the n, and you put 5 in for the r, and when you hit enter, you get 792. That's the number of combinations. Now remember, it's students. Remember to put your units or whatever down there. So very easy. All it has to do, total number of things goes on the end, r at a time, the number allowed, so the lesser number is going to go there. That's it for lessons 72, 73, 74, and 75.